My name is Jennifer Robles, and I'm an advisor from the Center for Careers in Teaching at Cal State Fullerton. So today, what we're going to be discussing in this presentation is the basic skills requirement, which is a state requirement you need to meet to become a teacher in California, and some of the ways to meet it, because there's a few, and then we'll touch on a little bit more in specifically the CBEST as an option. So here's our agenda. So we already did a little introduction. I'll give you a little information about where I'm from. So I'm from the Center for Careers in Teaching, as I mentioned, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we do at the center and what kind of programs we offer for future teachers at Cal State Fullerton. And then we'll carry on with the topic that's at hand today. So the basic skills requirement, what it is, how to meet it, and what the CBEST is. So as I mentioned, I'm from the Center for Careers in Teaching at Cal State Fullerton, and we're the undergraduate advisement center for all the future teachers at Cal State Fullerton. And some of the services we provide are listed here. So if you end up coming to Cal State Fullerton, we'll assist you with advising for your general ed courses, your teacher pathway courses. We basically help future teachers academic plan with the goal in mind of becoming a teacher and getting a credential. So we are the center that's up to date on all the current teacher California preparation requirements, as well as specific requirements for our credential program. So you'll definitely want to find us if you're going to be a future teacher at Cal State Fullerton. If you're curious to learn a little bit more about our center and some of the things and resources that we have on there, I've included our website and our Instagram handle, which we're really active on social media. So if you're curious to see a little bit more about us and what we do, give us a follow. And I will be sending these links, or not sending the links, but the presentation to your advisor here so that she can send it out to you. So you'll be able to check out some of these links on the presentation. Some of the programs that we have at Cal State Fullerton are Titan Future Teachers, which is our community of future educators on campus. So we're focused on helping you build your community and meet other fellow future teachers, but we also provide opportunities for professional development and socials to connect, with your fellow future teachers. So we have an Instagram handle for that if you want to learn a little bit more about that. And then we also have Men of Color in Education. There's not very many men of color that pursue careers in teaching. And so we want to change that and provide some support to this community. So again, professional development workshops are provided for this programming, workshops and social activities, things like that. So a lot of support for future teachers at Cal State Fullerton, a lot of fun programs, and the Center for Careers in Teaching here to help if you come to Cal State Fullerton. So things to keep in mind when you're thinking about where to go for your bachelor's degree and your teaching credential. So let's dig in now to our topic of the day, which is the basic skills requirement. So the basic skills requirement is a state requirement that means that future teachers in California need to demonstrate that they're proficient in basic reading, writing, and math. And there are various ways to satisfy the basic skills requirement. Here's a little snapshot that shows you those ways to meet the basic skills requirement. So as you can see, you have a lot of options. The CBEST, in the past, it was sort of the main way for students to meet the basic skills requirement to show they have basic reading, writing, and math skills. But there's actually a lot of other ways too that you can meet this requirement, and a combination of these things can be used to meet the requirement as well. So I'm going to point out just a few here. So your GE coursework that you do, your A2, A3, and B4, that's your writing, critical thinking, and math college course that you take. If you get a B- or better with those classes, you'll meet basic skills and you won't have to take the CBEST. If you've taken the SAT scores, or excuse me, if you've taken the ACT or the SAT and you have the qualifying scores that are listed here, we will accept those, or the state, I should say, would accept those to satisfy the basic skills requirement as well. So there's a lot of ways to meet the basic skills requirement. CBEST hasn't gone away, it still exists because sometimes even with these options available, students still don't quite meet them with either, qualifying test scores from SAT or ACT or their GE. So they might end up needing to take the CBEST. So to highlight a little bit more these options that you have, I want to show you here just a couple of graphics to show that you can also meet the requirement in a combination of ways. So for example, college level coursework can be used, as I mentioned, A3, A2, and B4. So you can meet it that way, but maybe you got a B- or better with your reading and your writing, but you got a C in math. So maybe for the math section, you end up using qualifying test scores from your SAT or ACT, or maybe you didn't do those exams. So that means you'll only have to take the math section of the CBEST, but you've met the writing and the reading with your coursework or maybe qualifying test scores. So how you meet the basic skills requirement is going to vary for everyone because there's options to meet it. So today we're going to focus on CBEST, one of those options that you may have to use to satisfy the basic skills requirement if you won't meet it with your GE coursework or qualifying SAT, ACT, or AP scores. So what is the CBEST? It's the California Basic Educational Skills Test. And again, it's one of the ways to satisfy the basic skills requirement. And it will be a test that covers basic reading, writing, and math. So it's pretty similar to those, like the STAR testing that you maybe did back in high school, those little equivalency exams. That's kind of what they're like. So the test structure of CBEST looks like this. It's 3 different sections. There's a reading section, math and writing. Your reading and math section is going to be 50 multiple choice questions, and your writing section is going to be responding to 2 writing prompts. So you'll have 2 essays to do. There are a few options for testing for the CBEST. You can go to a testing center to take the test, or you can actually test from home now or a workplace. You just have to make sure you're meeting the testing environment requirements to do that, but you have both of those options now. COVID kind of changed that. That wasn't always the case, but now you have the option to either go to a testing center or test from home. I've included some links and QR codes along the way in case you want to check out some of the information from the CTC website. That's where I pulled all the information from the CBEST. That's the state assessment website. So it'll take you to that page right now that'll show you your testing options if you scan the QR code. There's a lot of important information to review on this CTC website. I have some screenshots for you to take a look at. So if you're going to test in person or you're going to test from home, you want to make sure you read through all of these thoroughly because there's a lot of rules, especially if you're going to test in person, about what you can take, what you can do as far as for test accommodations, things like that. There's steps to getting those types of things available to you if you need them, but they're all going to be found here. There's a section called On the Day of the Test on the website, and you'll see that there's preparation materials, how to pay for the test, how to request those testing arrangements that I was talking about a little bit earlier, and their policies. So they're pretty strict about being on time for the test. Like if you're late, you might not even get to test at all. So it's really important that you get there on time. There's a whole list of what you can bring with you, like as far as pencils and water bottle and things like that. So maybe not the most interesting thing to read, but definitely something you should to make sure that you are, not going to have any barriers to taking that test if you're going into a testing center. And the same thing if you're doing the online remote option. There's a whole list of things that talks about what you need to have in place in order to test from home as far as like system requirements and what your surrounding needs to be. So what is actually on the CBEST exam? So let's talk about the math section first. So this test will assess your estimation, measurement, and stat principle skills, computation and problem solving, numerical and graphic relationships. Most of these are going to be presented as word problems. Another important note to make for the CBEST is you cannot use a calculator when taking this test. So you might want to brush up on using, just a scratch paper and pencil to work things out the old-fashioned way. I know we rely on our calculator a lot. I do personally. Math is not my strong skill. So it's not college level math, it's basic math, but you can't use a calculator. So you'll definitely want to, make sure you refresh and remember how to work things out the long way. Reading section will assess your critical analysis and evaluation skills and your comprehension and research skills. This will be a 50 multiple choice question section. So is the math, by the way. No outside knowledge is required, so you don't need to have read any certain books or articles beforehand. All the information is going to be there for you to read. So there'll be like little writing sections for you to read and answer questions about, or like little passages, things like that. So the section will assess your ability to comprehend information presented in written passages, tables, and graphs. Reading passages vary in length, ranging from 1 to 2 sentences or to about 200 words. And with the writing section, so you're going to be asked to respond to 2 different writing prompts. One topic is going to ask you to analyze a given situation or statement, and the other is going to ask you to write about a specified personal experience. So you might be thinking 2 essays, that sounds like a lot, but we're not talking about, very long-winded essays. It's kind of like thinking back again to maybe like high school or middle school, even when you're doing like one of those solid 5-paragraph essay. So an intro, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion, that kind of thing. So not anything crazy long. So you'll definitely want to manage your time well for this one, though, to give yourself a little time to brainstorm. But just know that we're not, or not me, but the state is not looking for very long-winded essays or writing assignments here. Next, you'll see here what it looks like, what they're assessing you on. So a pass would be a 4, and it's a well-formed writing sample that effectively communicates a whole message to the specified audience. So you really want to make sure that you're reading carefully all the parts of the writing prompt, and you're thoroughly responding to all parts of the question so that you can make sure that you are getting a passing score for your writing section. If you're wondering how to prepare, there's a lot of test preparation materials available for you on the CTC website. So if you notice, there is a practice test for each one of the sections of the CBEST. So you'll get to, get a sense of what the test is all about. Again, it's a basic skills test. It's not college level. They just want to be sure that our future teachers at the very least have basic reading, writing, and math skills. So again, I've included the QR code right here so that you can scan it and it'll take you over to the page so that you could actually check out those exams for yourself. And here's a sample of what the scoring looks like. So it's a pass or fail exam, and a minimum score of total score for all 3 sections. In this scenario, we're talking about you needing all sections of the CBEST, but there might be some cases, because as we learned earlier, you can meet it with other options like your GE courses and SAT scores. You might only need to take 1 section, but for example, if you needed to take all parts of the CBEST, your minimum total score you would need is 123. So that means a minimum score of 41 in each section to pass. However, with a total score of 123 or above, you can also pass with a minimum section score of 37. So here's some samples of what that will look like. So example 1, this person earned 41 points for all 3 sections for a total of 123. That's a pass. In example 2, they got 43 in their reading and writing section and a 37 in their math. So even though it's not a 41 for math, because they earned a little bit higher in the reading and writing section, and they were able to earn a total score of 123, they'll accept that minimum math score of 37. Example 3 shows that, wow, they did great reading, writing 50 in both of those areas. But even though they got a total of 130, their math score was still just a little too low. It was a 30. Had that score been a 37, they would have accepted it. So it's if you need to take all 3 sections of the CBEST, there is a way to pass with a little bit lower than a 41 if you earned higher scores in other areas. So that's just a sample of what it looks like. The CBEST can be taken as many times as you need to. There's no limit to how many times you can take it. However, you do have to wait 45 days until you can test again. Another thing to note is it'll take a couple weeks for you to get your results back. So after you take it, you're not immediately getting those results. So it will be a couple weeks before you know if you passed or not. Oh, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. So, but it covers a couple other things on here in this slide too. So again, if you're someone who needs to take the CBEST all 3 sections, you would need to pass all 3. If you are going to use one of the other options like your GE courses or SAT, ACT scores or AP scores, you might only need to pass 1 section of the CBEST if you are not meeting it with those other scores. Once you successfully passed your CBEST, your score does not expire. Your testing scores are good for life, so it's not something you're going to ever have to renew or retake once you've passed it. And again, you can retake any portion of the exam if you're unsuccessful with it, and you can attempt as many times as you need to. The only thing is you'll pay every time, and it's not a reduced cost when you retake. You'll pay the full price for retesting. And again, you do have that 45-day waiting period before you can test again, because I want to make sure that you're going to spend some time studying before you come back in and test. And yeah, I know some of you are kind of at varied points, but I just wanted to also share too a little bit of transfer information since I'm from Cal State Fullerton. If you're interested in coming to Cal State Fullerton to earn your bachelor's degree and then your credential in the future, I've included just some screenshots where you can find future student information. So there's information for transfer students right here that has all that information. And I think that covers everything there. Any questions? I'm going to bring back, I'm going to stop sharing for a second here. I'm going to bring back this page here because I know I was asked to focus on the CBEST, but I want to really emphasize that you have a lot of ways to meet this requirement. So does anyone have any questions about these other options?
Yeah, what are the other ways?
Yeah, so let me actually, I'm going to in the chat also share a document because this is a screenshot to that document of a flyer that has all the options for meeting the basic skills requirement and what the basic skills requirement is. So let me pull that up. I have it in my folder here. Okay, it says it was sent successfully. But you'll see this same chart right here that has all of your options, but basically you can meet basic skills with your GE courses if you've earned a B- or better, your SAT scores if you have qualifying scores, and the scores are listed there. Also ACT and AP scores too. And then also the CSU exams that are listed here too, but those are exams students rarely take anymore. Most of the time students are going to fulfill it with their general ed or testing like SAT, ACT, or AP scores. Other questions?
Jennifer, could you let us know how much the CBEST exams actually cost?
Yeah, it's on the website. It's actually $30 per section. And I realize now, I think I'm missing a slide because I had that on information on there. It's $30 a section to take. And actually the state is waiving testing fees right now until June 30th, 2023. So it's actually free to take right now.
So for any of our students here, I would definitely recommend meeting with your college counselor because I know we do have some students from Rio Hondo, Cerritos, ELAC, El Camino. Definitely meet with your counselor because depending on your career goal, you might have to take the CBEST. So definitely meet with your college counselor so that way you know what is needed for your future career goal. And maybe the CBEST is something that you.
Yeah, so if you are planning to become a teacher in California, this basic skills requirement needs to be met. So you can take the CBEST to meet it, but you have all these other options too to get into teaching credential program. Like for example, Cal State Fullerton's credential program, you'll have to have the basic skills requirement met. And I see a question in the chat that says, what degree level do you need to take the test? Anyone can test. You don't need to have a degree to take the CBEST. Any other questions?
And just like Miss Jennifer Robles was saying, it's not college level. I would think of it kind of like a high school exit exam in terms of the challenge and rigor. I myself took it in the past when I was thinking about elementary school teacher. If you do take it on site, they're very strict, so make sure that you're following the rules and policies if you take the exam. Like even for me, when I went to go take the exam, they check my glasses because a lot of the students do cheat, so they're gonna check everything. So make sure you read those policies and things like that, and they're very strict. Even myself, I had a hair clip, and they told me I couldn't read the hair clip inside to test. So just make sure you go along with the rules and policies to make sure you can take the exam.
Definitely, and that's the link that was shared on this page right here. So you'll find all that information here. Any other questions?
If you don't have any more questions, this is the end of this presentation. Just make sure you do fill out the Google form, right? So I can email you the recorded workshop. If any of you do have questions, feel free to stay behind. But I hope this information was all helpful to you, to my students. And like I said, if you are interested or want to know more, definitely connect with your college counselor, right? They're going to guide you the best way to your future career goal.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right.